Alrighty, good evening everyone. This is Hajim Zero here, back with another quick movie review. Hopefully you guys can hear me because I do have other people in the house and I can't be as eccentric, even though I've been putting this off for some time to do. But this one is 28 Days Later. It's kind of one of my favorite horror films or world disaster slash zombie and or a zombie film, and we can have the whole debate if they're zombies or not. Just people put it in that category, but it is a good, viral world disaster film next to the other movie. I think it's called Virus. With the monkey who had it. At least I think that's the title of the movie. Yeah, I could be wrong. Again, we could talk about it in the comment section. But I'm gonna go in with the story, of course, and the technical stuff behind the scenes, and some other extra miscellaneous tidbits. So this movie tells a story of a viral outbreak that happens within 28 days. And pretty much, okay, put it like this, pretty much the opening of the film, these animal rights activists are breaking in this laboratory to rescue some monkeys. And they've been given some kind of inhibitor, which is a form of Ebola. And it's pretty much whatever the rage virus is. That's how it was officially transmitted in Ebola. And you just go psycho and crazy, and there's technically no cure. A little bit on that, and when I get to the sequel, but pretty much right after the attack happens in a laboratory where the scientists and the animal rights activists are bitten by the monkeys. Then 28 days later, that's when we meet our main protagonist, Jim, who wakes up in a hospital. Right after he discovers all of London being deserted and the infected still being there, like a few of them in a church. That it was 28 days after that point, and he tells the people that saved his life that he was a bike carrier. He got hit by a car and he woke up in a coma. In the hospital. So it's pretty much them just trying to survive and find shelter. It's pretty much three transitions in the film. In the beginning, you see the little bit of the basic, the rules of what to do and not to do and to survive. And then when it transitions, when they meet the other people, it was more about, okay, here's the emotional part of you caring for other people. And even the Jim character and Selena character that rescue him, they even have a conversation about that. And then the third transition is really the nastiness of mankind and or human nature. Another known fact, they say allegedly the Walking Dead premise a little bit came from this, but it's all zombie films. But technically, the whole coma part, that's what came from it. And by this first 6 issues of the book, you're just like the character Rick trying to figure out pretty much what's going on. So that was really the main selling point of the movie, I believe, when it was marketed back in 2002. And even all deserted London, they even stated that was the most scariest thing. I think I saw it on, it could have been A&E. It was one of those channels, like during Halloween, they have like the most 100 scary things in cinema. And 28 days later, it was number 100, and the scariest thing was a super deserted London. And again, it mimicked a little bit of I Am Legend. But I Am Legend, of course, it had different creatures, and the guy kind of had advantage. He was a soldier and a scientist. So, if you write that in, it makes it a little bit more, your character has a little bit of something, versus him being an average guy and him potentially getting killed really quick. And he's by himself with a dog. But pretty much those are the 3 transitions in the movie. Another scary thing about this film, well, it really didn't scare me because I saw Dawn of the Dead first, with the whole running zombie or infected approach. And when I saw this, it was scary. I can understand the fear, the visual of it when it came out, because this did come out before Dawn of the Dead. And again, both mediums had different rules. And this one, if you're bitten or scratched, or if the blood gets in your eye, infected blood, you turn in a matter of seconds. It's not like a few days or hours, you turn instantly and you're filled with so much aggression and rage. And then not to mention, even behind the scenes, they said they even hired like people who had a background in dance and some kind of movement. And one scene in particular, when they're in a tunnel and then the infected are running after them, you can literally see them leap and jump and just move at full aggression, and that's what made it scary. And again, I can, it's understandable with that fear, seeing this in theaters with the loud sound. And then on top of that, the way they shot the film, they did it on these, I think they call it DV cameras. I can't remember the abbreviation, but it's pretty much no different than this camera, except there may be a couple of tweaks. And again, not Quarantine, Rec did somewhat of a similar job, but of course it was much more modern with the digital camera, but or the digital handheld camera. But with this, you can see like a yellowish tint, and bright colors, just a tad bit on the contrast on the lens of the film, and it really brought out a lot of the nastiness, especially with the people being out there just a tad bit. They're infected, they haven't eaten, the environment's catching up to their skin. You see the veins and the paleness that comes out. And then I know there was like one scene where, I think around the end of the film, where Jim sets up the soldiers and there's a couple infected running towards Major Henry West, and you see a couple of the super nude, exposed, infected, and that's the deadness that I was pretty much mentioning. The good thing is that they said realistically, and I heard this, I think it was on like Watch Mojo. It could have been on Watch Mojo, but it was something on like how viruses really work. And they said, one of the scientists they had on the show, he was saying, I give them credit for using Ebola as a real strain of infecting someone, but and even the whole rage thing may be possible because it's like no different than rabies, but you don't turn that quick. Yeah, within 20 seconds. That was pretty much a plot device if you really think about it. But it is film, but most of the rest of the film is realistic, especially like I said, the way they shot it. They had good moments where they didn't play any music. One particular scene where Jim is attacked in his home, and it had momentarily the camera be outside, to get the point of view of the infected, and then you see like shadows go by, and that's when they jump in. And again, I think that was played in the trailer as well. But I really love the narrative of the film. The film had 3 different endings. Spoiler alert, where Jim pretty much dies. There was a radical ending where it talked about a blood transfusion, and they were saying, pretty much in the film, it was what would happen if they never encountered the soldiers. So when they got to the blockade, Frank, the infected Frank, he was knocked out and he was held captive, and then they get instructions on, doing a full blood transfusion out of someone's body, pint by pint. But they said it didn't really work because, if you can get infected the same way, what does the clean blood, what difference does it really make? Yeah, it was good for the tension. And then at the same time, they added that the infected were attacking the compound. So I guess the whole thing wouldn't have worked either way. You're doing this long procedure of a blood transfusion, but at the same time, you got to worry about the infected coming in there and attacking you. So it was just too convoluted, and I see why they had scrapped it. So, but the storyboard is here on the deleted scene, and of course the other ending where they kind of indirectly used it in the final version. You see clips of it where when Jim is shot by Major Henry West, and then they have to perform a procedure where they have to I think either remove the bullet or do something, and then in that ending Jim does die. It was really a cinematic moment, because the movie had opened with him on a hospital table, and then the movie was going to end with him dying on the table. So I think that's what Danny Boyle has said in the audio commentary, or someone from behind the scenes. And those are the moments. That's the realistic ending I definitely could have saw, because if the whole country's down and there's no good doctors who can do this procedure, it's highly unbelievable, but two average people know how to do this procedure to save someone who just got shot in their lower abdomen and be successful, But again, the the film is scary for especially for someone who hasn't really seen it. I've seen it a bunch of times, of course, so I'm not really as scared. But the good thing is that the fear I can see is that mainly your reaction time and what you're gonna do, especially movies like Dawn of the Dead, the Saw franchise, and The Walking Dead. They do a good job in putting you in the position of what would you do if you were in this radical situation and you have to think really, really quickly. And this is another film that does the same thing. So, on here, you have to be extra cautious because people are turning within 20 seconds and they move at a rapid pace. Yeah, as soon as you turn, you're instantly in hyper-adrenaline rage mode and you're trying to gnaw at someone's face. But the last point I'm going to make, the additional thing that made this movie scary at the time, and I even stated this on another movie review, is that at the time, all the actors they had in the movie and actresses, they were unknown. Now today, they are very known, but I think if you do a horror movie, that's one good selling point because most of the time when they put, famous people in their films, it leads and carries the whole film and that they're going to make it to the end. Now, I will give credit definitely to Wes Craven because when he did the movie Scream, he had broke all those rules. And one of the best ones came with Drew Barrymore when she decided she wanted to play the first victim instead of the main character in the film. And then it pretty much started, the whole trope of putting famous people in movies and having them being killed 9 times out of 10. Scream was one of the first ones to pretty much do it at a high rate, and then because if you see that movie and then, a main known actor dies in the first, I think it had to be at least 5 to 7 minutes. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But it's pretty much the first act of the film. Then anybody can bite the dust at any moment. Yeah, so, and that's why I'm saying with The Walking Dead, they did a good job at casting certain people in their show who weren't really known, but I personally know of, but still they said no one's really safe. Again, goes with this film, they were originally going to axe their main character and he wasn't really known at the time. Yet now he is very known, and the actor I'm talking about is Cillian Murphy. He's basically known for Scarecrow on The Dark Knight. And then you have the chick that plays Selena, I think Naomie Harris. This is the first movie I've seen her in, and then ever since then, she's been in the James Bond movies. She was on Pirates of the Caribbean, and then she did another known film. And as an actress, I really, really do like her. Seeing her in those other films as well. I think Street Kings was the other one I have her in, which I'm also going to review much later on. But you see her transition to her playing different characters, and I love her for it. And then the guy that played Frank, I seen him before. I didn't even know it was him. He was on the movie Lake Placid with Bill Pullman and I think it was Bridget Fonda. So I didn't know that was him, But that's the only 2 movies I know him of, is that one and this one. And Major Henry West, I haven't seen him in anything but this movie, but I think he was on Doctor Who. And I seen a couple scenes with him in there, and again, it was a nice transition. I was like, okay, you went from being logical and threatening, and calm on here versus being, charismatic on Doctor Who. So it's all these little things that I really liked. And Danny Boyle, he did a good job of directing because he's another guy with good talent. He did this and The Beach, which I also reviewed earlier on my timeline. And it's nice to see both, transitions of his talent. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I think you can because my face is super close to the camera. But I will see you in the next review. Peace.